Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Ikelite underwater enclosure designed specifically for the RX100 Mark IV. Now you can see the Mark IV sitting right here on top of the box. Easily one of the best cameras on the market right now in my opinion, especially for any consumer, whether we're talking about your entry-level point-and-shoot hobbyist all the way up to a pro that just wants the best quality you can put in your pocket. And that includes video because, after all, the RX100 Mark IV does also shoot some exceptional UHD video as well as high-speed, slow-motion footage with its 1-inch sensor. But all of that aside, by the way, I'm going to have to remove this grip, something I wanted to let you know for those of you that are curious about underwater enclosures. This is designed specifically for those of you who are looking to dive at depths. I believe it's rated up to 200 feet or 60 meters. Weighs a little under 3 pounds, a little over 2.5, somewhere around there. Retails for $550 US, and it is a bit of a beast. Don't kid yourself. If you're someone like myself who hasn't used a dedicated underwater enclosure like this in a long time, then you will be slightly intimidated. And I say that not because you don't know what you're doing, but because the enclosure market has changed. Things have definitely become more, I would say, user-specific, or not user-specific, but model-specific. And instead of looking to manufacturers to complement their products with things like this, we now have to look to third-party. And that's nothing new. Ikelite's been around for a long time. In fact, I always wondered if they were the ones manufacturing Sony's own cases, but it could have just as easily been a Chinese firm. Now, let me put aside the enclosure, and then I'll take a look at it in detail. Again, a little under 3 pounds, and here we've got what I imagine will be paperwork and accessories, and that's exactly what we've got. Nothing else in this box, so I'm going to get rid of it. And basically what we've got here is the other diffuser option, because there's already a pre-installed diffuser there for if you're shooting with the flash on board as opposed to a strobe, because you can mount a full rig on this and have a strobe easily. Ikelite has their own one that they market in a single solution, which is really nice. Also expensive. Remember, $550 is the MSRP on this here in the States. And realistically, you're not going to find these things on sale heavily too often. Of course, you can always go with a Chinese counterpart, which I may even get in stock before I leave for my trip to dive. So we'll see if I do. And if I do, of course, you will all see it here on the table. But of course, included beyond the strobe change out, the diffuser for if you're actually using a strobe. That's why this is so much larger than the one that's on board right now, the diffuser. We get some silicone lubricant because you're going to need that for the O-ring that is installed already, as well as for any of the buttons if they become jammed, and some replacement rubber pieces here, rubber caps, and that's pretty much it. And then a little marketing from Ikelite, your camera anywhere there's water, because that is the idea. You don't have to dive with this. This is also just a great option for, if you're going to the beach and you want to get those shots with the RX100 Mark IV without having to worry that it's going to come away damaged. This is a great way to accomplish that. So it's not just for diving, but of course, if you're spending this kind of money, I would say it's appropriate that it should be. Instruction manual, relatively lengthy. There is quite a bit of maintenance. I knew this already. I knew what I was getting myself into. And then the actual, enclosure itself, and it is weighty. It does come with a wrist strap. You can see that right here, which is definitely important if you're not using some sort of mounted grip, because you don't want this floating away while you're diving, and you can't always hold something like this, especially since ergonomics are not in this thing's favor. Up at the top, we've got our power button, our zoom rocker right here, because you can control the RX100 Mark IV zoom. I believe this controls the flash, but I could be incorrect, and I think the flash already has to be up in advance. I'm looking at what that corresponds with, and it looks like it might. I'm not positive. Back here, we've got the movie capture button right here in red, just as it should be, and then a cluster of all the other buttons in a tactile formation, all at different levels for menu function, your burst rate, playback, trash, as well as flash control. Remember, again, the flash must already be ejected if you're going to use it. This housing does not support controlling that directly. And then there's actually a mount inside here to seat the camera on, also something not unique, because this is entering into the realm of, I would say, pro, semi-pro hardware when it comes to underwater enclosures. In terms of other things to point out, air pressurization, I believe that's what this knob is for, but I'm not positive. I have reading to do, as you all may have noticed. I'm not sure that this can be vacuum sealed like some more expensive systems. That's where you get into spending, thousands of dollars, or at least over $1,000, as opposed to this 550, which may seem like a lot, but when you look at what it provides, it's actually a value, even if it is, half the price of the camera itself. We have what you would call a lens hood or cover right there, and then, of course, the actual barrel for the lens itself. Keep in mind, filters, you're going to want them. The thread on here is I believe, 76 millimeter. So keep that in mind when you go out to get yourself some filters for this, and you will need them because, underwater photography generally does require that. And remember, you're always better off underexposing rather than overexposing, because so much can be done in post. Basically, the way this works, just a quick rundown, because I know already from the research I've done, is that in order to open this up, you want to just push that down, and that unlocks one side. Same thing on the other, push it down, unlocks on that side, and then the entire back just unhooks. You can see the latch, the hinge system right there, and then you have access to the mounting plate right there, which you can see it says lens this way. Hopefully you've realized that. It also is marketed or branded right there with the RX100 Mark IV. It does state that because there is a different version for the Mark III. And below, so keep that in mind. This is only compatible with the 4. This is not compatible, or actually it may also be compatible with the 3, I stand corrected, but definitely not the 1 or the 2. But it is at least marketed just for the 4, as ironic as that sounds. And there's the O-ring surrounding the back cover, and that's pretty much it. Once you have the camera mounted on there, you slide it back into position, and you close this up. Of course, before you do that, and this is all in the instructions, and I only know this because, well, I've done this before, you do want to make sure that you have no leakage whatsoever. So you want to go through those steps before you've actually put anything inside this. Make sure that you have no leakage. And then from there, if you do have any leakage, address it by basically cleaning the O-ring and lubricating until you do not. Again, as far as what the whole assembly here does is a whole nother issue. That's something I'm going to have to learn with time, but definitely feels like it is a solidly built piece of equipment. I'm wondering if I am going to get that Chinese-made, less expensive solution in time to give you a comparison, as well as an overall feel for what it has to offer. If it has this sort of build quality, it's going to be compelling because it is literally half the price and even comes with a little bit more, like a red filter, as well as a grip mount as well for a strobe. So just another option for those of you who are interested in photography, especially underwater. The RX100 Mark IV. This is just, I have not seen enough housings, underwater enclosures for cameras like this, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I'd much rather take something like this underwater, knowing the performance it's capable of, even if it's short range, than something like my A7R Mark II. And then I will also be picking up, hopefully today at some point, and updating all of you, the oddly discontinued front cover for the Action Cam, the latest gen, which is getting revamped already, that can capture UHD video, because that front plate, unlike this one that's included with the housing that can go 33 feet, can actually reach depths close to this, around 200, and still provide great video with the small sensor on here and 4K video. So I plan on using both of these in my travels and my dives / snorkeling. So look forward to sharing samples with you and hopefully all of this working out. It will again be interesting to see what the other solution, I believe the company is Cam Dive or Cam Cove, what their product's like, especially since I was already familiar with Ikelite, knew their reputation. So curious to see what the alternatives really are like. Is the plastic going to be as high grade? Are the metallic materials going to feel as high grade? If not, then I think clearly the Ikelite probably is going to get the vote, even though I already like the fact that the Camcove one, even though it's not rated to go as deep, does have a blackout body, which makes it a lot easier to see what you're shooting underwater. But we'll see. But this was just my underwater photographic update, getting ready for a trip. Wanted to share it with all of you, since, again, there's very little out there on YouTube or anywhere else for that matter regarding taking the RX100 Mark IV underwater. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And, of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.